Welcome back to another video. In this video we will have a look at Python modules. So imagine this is your main program, the box on the right hand side in black, and all of your code is in here. But now that you've been working on it for a while, you have a bunch of functions, classes and variables in here, and the file starts to become very large and looks very heavy on code. So you have lots of code in this file, and so this is where modules come into play to separate some of that code into separate files. So you separate your related functions, classes and variables into different files. Then you import these files or even subsets of code within the files into your main program as of when you need them. So modules contain definitions of functions, classes and variables, and help organize by grouping related functionalities together. And by using modules, you can break a large program into smaller, manageable and reusable parts. So by doing this, it helps us write clean, organized, efficient and maintainable code. Let's go over these bullet points before we have a look at modules in a live demonstration. So in its most simplistic term, a module is a file with a group of related Python code inside it that we can import and use elsewhere. We use these modules to organize and group our code into separate files, and then we import them in our program when we need to use a code within the modules. For example, rather than, let's say, creating 20 functions in our code, we could just separate these functions into separate Python files, which are known as modules, and import them into our main program when we need them. So rather than having lots of functions in a single file, it's better to group them together and put them inside modules. And by grouping code, it keeps our files less congested and bloated, and our code will be much better organized and easier to manage. And we are not repeatedly creating the same code, also known as dry, don't repeat yourself. It's one of the best practices of writing code. So they are there to organize related functions, classes and variables, or any blocks of code in the same file, and the file name is the module name with the suffix .py appended to the end of the module. And to import the module, we use the import command followed by the module name. So import profit, for example. I'm going to skip this part and we will come back to it. So on the next slide, we can see the types of modules, and there are three types. One is the predefined module. There are predefined and built-in modules, and you would still need to import these even though they are built-in. User-defined modules, so you can create your own defined modules, your own user-defined modules. So basically create your groups of functions, classes and variable definitions and your other code and save them as a .py file. And there's your user-defined module. We will do this very shortly. And the last one is external modules. External modules need to be downloaded, and you can install them using a package manager like pip. And going back to the built-in predefined modules, and these are some of the common modules in Python, which are datetime, used for manipulating the dates and times, HTML for parsing HTML pages, JSON encoding and decoding JSON format code. So Python has a built-in module called JSON, where you are able to read JSON documents with the JSON.load method, or you can convert your data into JSON files with the JSON.dump method. Those are two examples of how you would use the JSON module. Then there's login and event login system for applications. Maths are a very popular module for performing mathematical functions. Nmap, used to discover hosts and services on a computer network. Random number generator, so generate pseudo random numbers. OS, using OS operating dependent functionality. The sys module, access to system specific parameters and functions. RE for parsing regular expressions. And time provides various time related modules. Now I've only listed a few of the modules. To get an insight into the full list of Python modules within the standard library, by the way, so there are many libraries, we can have a look at these modules on the python.org webpage. It's called the Python Module Index, which we can access on the link from the right hand side. And if I bring my web browser across, so the Python standard library contains over 200 modules, but varies between distributions. And we can see all of the modules in here available to Python. So we can go to the module index on the Python website on this link here, and you can see all of the modules, or you can browse by the alphabet. So if we hover down, we can see all the modules here, and we can open them up to see how they work, to understand how they work. So the math module is a very popular module, looking at mathematical functions. And if we go in here, we can see how the math module works and all of the methods that are part of the math module. So we can use these mathematical functions in our Python script, for example, math.floor. So there's lots of these if I hover down. And I've done a separate video earlier in my video tutorials on this particular module, so you may want to have a look at that. But for this video, we'll have a look at how we use the math module and we get access to all of these methods. So going back to the PowerPoint slide and going to the previous slide in particular, and if you have been following my videos, you would have seen I have done some functions. And one of them is the profit function. So this is a very simple function which adds two numbers together. So it's representing two online businesses. But in this example, I need three separate functions. So for example, if I had three online businesses, I'll call one profit 1 and the other profit 2, and the other online business would be profit 3. Now, if I wanted to work out the total profit for profit 1 and profit 2, I would run function 1, which is the total underscore profit, which is profit underscore 1 plus profit underscore 2, and this would give me the result of profit 1 plus profit 2. But if I wanted to work out the total profit for my online business 1 and online business 3, I could use function 2, which is profit 1 plus profit 3. And then function 3 does online business 2 and online business 3, so profit 2 plus profit 3. So let's have a look at these three functions, how we add it into a Python module, and then we can import it into our main Python program so we can utilize the functions. We are now in PyCharm, and what I'm going to do is paste in my three functions. So I've pasted my functions into first pyfile.py. I've got my function 1 separated by space, function 2 and function 3. And we can see the names of each function: profit underscore 1 underscore 2, profit underscore 1 underscore 3, and profit 2 underscore 3. If we save this now as a new file, or should I say module, and we will call it profit. So profit.py, and let's click OK on that. And that's it. We have a module called profit.py, and we can utilize this module or import it into our other Python files. So if we go back to first py file, let's remove the three functions from here. Now let's say this is our main Python file, our main code, and we need to import a module. And in this case, we need to import the module profit. So how we do that is we specify import followed by profit. And we can see it's already there for us to select. So let's double click profit. And that's it. We've imported our profit module. So now what we can do is if we type profit followed by the dot operator, or sometimes it's called dot notation, we can see our three functions here. So profit underscore 1 underscore 2, profit underscore 1 underscore 3, and profit underscore 2 underscore 3. Now all I need to do is double click one of these, type in the print before the function, and put it inside parentheses. We can use our function. So this function takes two arguments, as we can see in the module. We can see we've got two parameters, profit underscore 1 and profit underscore 2. So we need to specify two arguments. These are our two numbers that we are going to add together. So let's go with 10 and 20. Now let's right click and run the first py file. And we can see the result on the right hand side, which is 30. Now we can also access part of a module. You do not need to import the complete module into your Python file. And this is done using the from keyword. So in this situation, we could import a specific method from the profit module. So let's hash this line, and instead here, let's use our from keyword. So it's from followed by the module name from profit. And then which function do we want to import? So it's from profit import, and then we specify the function we want to import. So let's go with profit, and we can already see PyCharm has detected the three functions for us. So let's go with the top one here. Now previously we needed to specify the module name followed by the function name, and then we added our values in here. But when we import a specific function from a module, it already knows about the module. So we only need to specify the function this time. So it's print, and then our function, which is profit underscore 2 underscore 3 here. And let's go with two different numbers this time. Let's go with a 5 and a 10. So we should get 15. Now let's run the file, and we get 15. So because it already knows about the module, you just specify the function followed by what the function does, the arguments in our case. But if you are importing the complete module, as we did earlier, import profit, we need to specify the module name followed by the function name. Now, although we can use the dot operator, or also known as the dot notation, to see what's available to us inside the module, or we can open up the module file, I suppose, we can also find out what's inside the module using the dir function. The directory function. Python's directory function is used to display the names of all the functions and the variables present inside a module. And we can do this using the print dir for directory and then the module name. So let's go with profit. Now let's run the file. So I have an error because I've not imported the module. We changed it to import a specific function inside the module. So let's import the module itself, profit, and now let's run the file. And we can see the result on the right hand side. If I scroll across, we can see our three functions right at the very end. Maybe if I move this screen to the bottom left, it might be easy to see. So now we can see at the very end, I've got my profit underscore 1 underscore 2. I've got my three functions. And of course, we can do this for the built-in modules as well. Let's import math, double click math, and now let's specify math as our module we want to print the directory for to see what's inside the math module. So let's run the file. And again, we have to scroll to the right hand side to see everything. We can see all of the functions, the methods inside math. For example, pi. But a better way to do this for larger modules, when you've got lots of things going on inside the module, is to run it inside a for loop. So the way we do that, for item in directory math with a colon, and then print, and let's print our items. Now we can run the file. I've got a double parenthesis in here. Let's remove one of these and run the file again. And we can see it's listed it out from top to bottom this time. Now we can utilize any of these methods in here. Let's use one. Let's use the square method. Let's change our code here and print math followed by the dot operator. Now let's pick our method, which was the square. Now let's find out the square root of 3 and run the file. And we can see the result over here for square root of 3. Now one last thing, if you use an overly long name for your module, you can use an alias for it just to shorten it up and make it easier to use. So for example, math, we can do as and give it an alias name of M, for example. Now we can reference it as M instead of math. And you can see why this would be useful if you are creating your own modules with difficult names and you are following a specific name case or a naming convention. And again, we ran the file and it's picked up the same result. Just to double check it's working, let's specify the square root of 5. And that's a high level overview of modules. So just to bear in mind, modules are a logical group of functionality that programmers can import in order to reuse their code or set of statements. And a module is just a name followed by the .py extension. And with the use of modules, it makes it easier to read, manage and organize your code, especially in larger Python projects. And one very key goal of creating a module is to prevent dry, so don't repeat yourself. Once your functions and classes and variables are inside the module, you can import them into the files rather than creating and duplicating the same functions, classes and variables in your different Python files.